you're here and you're listening to Mary Jo and myself speak today, and there's a part of you that doesn't believe that you're doing it, that you're on the journey, that you're awakening, just know that that is simply your mind telling you that, and that you are not your mind. So it's about understanding that the mind has been designed to keep you separate from your truth, and your truth is felt deep within you. So all it is it's a journey inward, and it's about relearning how you process.
Okay, welcome to the Divine Love Ambassador podcast. Today, I am welcoming a wonderful guest, Janine Savient, to be my first guest, actually, on this first official episode of Divine Love Ambassador. Janine, known as the Heart Lady, expressing beautiful notes from the universe of love, loving consciousness, loving heart, through your social media pages, that is very resonant and gets to the core and unpacks a lot, it seems, of what a lot of people are moving through to access more of this love and light. So, Janine, my first question to you is, what is love?
Wow. First of all, it's lovely to be here. It's lovely to be sharing this space with you, this space of divine love with you, and being very first guest on your new platform. That's a wonderful, exciting piece as well. So, so what is love? Well, that's a very small, just a few worded question, and just a few worded answer. Love is us. So, if we were to break it right down, if we were to separate every component of love, actually love is who and what we are. It is what we have always been and yet forgot. And now the journey is that we're coming back into the realization as ourselves, as beings of pure love. And that entails, of course, pure truth, transparency, showing up, being real, being authentic, being kind, being compassionate, just being the model. So that's what yourself and myself and all those that are similar to us, that are on the leading edge of this wave of love that's going through humanity now, waking everybody up. This is what we are doing. We are modeling what love is through our everyday actions, and how we show up not only to the outside world, not only to the external world, but how we show up to ourselves as well, especially how we show up to ourselves when there's nobody else around. Because in those moments, and every human being has those moments when we're by ourselves, and we may not be living in that moment how love would like us to live, through either our eating or our actions or our thoughts or whatever. That's the piece that is the precious gem, is even in those moments realizing that we are there with ourselves. We are always there with ourselves. We know ourselves, how we are in that moment. So through pure love, coming into even those moments of complete aloneness with ourselves, that we are still pure love. So we're filling our cup, if you like, we're filling our cup right now with the truth of ourselves. And as our own cup fills, of course, and it pours over into the outside world, we are touching all these other hearts, beautiful, beautiful hearts out there in that world that are being ignited, and they're starting to fill their cups as well. It's a beautiful time to be alive, Mary Jo.
Beautiful. And for those who may not be aware of your work and the Heart Lady. Can you give people a little bit of your background and what has led you, guided you on this journey, and just to give people an idea of what kind of journey you've taken to really have these revelations, insights, clarity, and be able to express so clearly in a way that does resonate with so many hearts. Can you give people a little bit of background story on Janine?
Sure. Yes, sure. So you could say that I was born with a foot in both camps. And when I say that, or born awake to this world and what it really was, this image that we're actually experiencing ourselves in right now. So I have a foot in this physical realm and what appears real, and I have a foot in the beautiful space where I know myself as pure love. And so I've walked these two completely different realities my entire life. In the reality where I know myself as pure divine love, I have many, many, many beautiful, when I was younger, playmates. And then when I became a fully fledged adult, if you could ever say that, because the inner child's still alive and well in me, I then this team connected in with me, or who I call my team. So I've had the privilege, the honor, the grace to have love in my life very, very deeply, from not only my mother in this life, who taught me love in this physical reality all through my childhood, but I also had it from the most beautiful, playful beings and joy-filled light beings right through my childhood as well. And then I would have been about 15 years ago, I woke up one night on a retreat in the mountains, and this group of beings were at the end of my bed, and they said to me, I just said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We are the Shining Ones." And then they just left. It was like they went backwards down a corridor and just disappeared right in front of me. And then over the next 12 months, I integrated with that energy in a very different way. So they're pure beings of pure light. They are absolute divine love. But they're not here to play. They can be humorous, but they're here for I found out very quickly that they were here to teach and to remind me who I was. So about 6 years ago, I integrated fully into the realization that I am one of that group, and that I was the one that put my hand up to anchor the light of that entire group into this reality. And when they first came through about 15 years ago, they said to me that they hadn't been able to come to this reality before because of the vibration, but now that the vibration was beginning to rise, they could now enter and support this reality along with so many other beautiful civilizations. And so there was me and one lady in the Northern Hemisphere, they told me, that were anchoring that light at that time. And so in the early days, after I'd blended with them, they would speak through me. And then about 5 years ago, we became even more integrated as one. And now, it took a bit of kicking and screaming on my part for a couple of years, but they wanted me to own every word that came out of my mouth, even though I was speaking as a collective. They said it's very important in this world we're moving into that I show up authentically and I own what's coming out of my mouth. So now it's me, all me, but they talk as a collective through me. And sometimes when I'm talking, I'll say I, and then sometimes I say we, because sometimes they're right around and in me, and other times it's like they take a step to the side. So it's more I. So, but on the higher, of course, realm is all me. It's all one. So I know now that this beautiful team are all aspects of myself, and I with them, and so they're not separate from me in any shape or form. So I have learned, remembered, reclaimed my own inner authority as pure love, and I'm still growing, expanding, deepening within what that means for me. But I have an awareness of what's going on here, and how love is returning, and what is required in each beautiful being for love to grow and blossom. And so that's a very shortened couple of step explanation on my journey here, but gives a little bit of a background on who I am and what I'm about.
Beautiful. Thanks for that share. Beautiful to hear a little bit of the background story. From your awareness and experience and journey, so you have said that you had a very loving upbringing, and aware that many people haven't had such a loving upbringing and feels very separated from this love. Can you share insights, what you see as the greatest challenges that people have to allowing this love to really permeate and to really be felt by the human? And what keeps one away from that? What have you learned on your journey? What have you discovered? What do you know about that?
Absolutely. So the first part is that we always know the family we're coming into. We have we live by choice, even when we're not here. Everything is a choice. So we choose the family we want to come into for the experiences that we feel we would like to have. And sometimes through the human perception, we could judge and say, well, why would any child want that experience? What a terrible experience to have that with their mother or their father, or even both. But from the level of soul, there is no wrong experience. There is no heavy, harsh experience. Everything simply is an experience, and the soul part of us loves it all. We love to experience ourselves in every shape, form, mode, modality, flavor, tone, vibration, you name it. Emotion. We love to come to this realm because here we have the roller coaster of emotion like nowhere else, and woohoo, the soul flies high riding it. The aspect in the body is right down low in the heaviness of it, so luckily we're integrating all that now, so all that will go in the new world. So when we have a heavy childhood, and it's deeply sad, and we feel very separate from love, we just don't have love in our life as a model for who we are. As we come into a realization and a quiet moment with ourselves, we're given the opportunity to understand that our mother or our father were only ever doing the best that they could from who they knew themselves to be in that moment of our childhood. That no matter how they treated us, it was themselves they were actually putting that energy on, and not their child, but themselves. They may have been projecting it out at their child, but really it was how they were feeling about themselves. When we can come to that part of ourselves, we start to understand that it was never that we were unlovable, because that's the first place a child goes to. I'm unlovable. I'm unseen. Nobody loves me, I'm so alone. Of course, because that's how the simplicity of a child's mind, they will immediately go into that space of blaming themselves, owning whatever's happening for themselves. So when we realize that the parent was simply doing the best that they knew how with who they knew themselves to be, we can understand that it was never about us. and that we came in for the experience of it, but it was never about us, how they were. And from there, we can actually start to come into a space in ourselves where we can just begin to find that love for ourselves. And that's the whole journey here. The absolute whole journey here is to come back into the realization that all the love that we seek from any other person outside of ourselves, from any experience, any connection, any relationship, is sitting within us right now, right in this moment. And it's connecting into that brings us every part of what we have been seeking our whole life. We've always been taught to seek outwards for that love, to go externally and find that love reflected back to us from another. So, of course, when it doesn't happen, especially with the child and the parent, of course, immediately we're going to go back into that space where we're unlovable. You know, the child would never feel that, oh my gosh, why does mum treat me like that? She doesn't love herself. The child would never have the capacity early on to even realize that. It's just immediately, I'm unlovable. She can't love me because I'm just simply unlovable. She wouldn't treat me like that. She wouldn't talk to me like that. She wouldn't abandon me or neglect me if she loved me. So I'm unlovable. So there's the journey that it starts right there. The journey of love starts right there, even if it takes an entire lifetime or many years anyway to come to the realization that rather than being unlovable, you actually are pure love itself. And you were simply having an experience of what it felt like to have the absence of love. So to have the absence of your essence in your life experience at that time. It's a big one. That is a very big one. I was very blessed with my mother because she devoted herself to her children, and she was gentle, she was kind, she was always there. And like I'd walk in the door every day from school, my first word was "Mum," and she'd go, "Oh," wherever she was in the house, she was just always there, you know. And she taught me to laugh too. So love and laughter, you know, they're two precious things. And she taught me to belly laugh from deep in my belly and just roar with laughter. And I'm like, that's something that I've been able to do my whole life, much to the embarrassment of my children if we're out in a public place. And if something just really tickles me, I can't help myself. I'm just open and I roar. Well, people often turn around in shock and then they start laughing too, because what else can you do when somebody's doing that? But anyway, I digress.
Contagious.
But, yes, it is. Laughter's contagious. Love is contagious. Both of them are beautifully, deeply connected vibrations, both one and the same, really. Well, one's a part of the other. So, you know, I would say to those that that had a very harsh upbringing, a very heavy upbringing, that if you're still carrying that now, it's time now to let that go, to release yourself from that if there's any blame, if there's any if there's a heavy connection still to that past child, let it go. Take that child in your arms right now. And I know everybody's probably heard these words before, but this is real. Shut your eyes, go inward into yourself and find that little child, find that little girl or that little boy, and pick them up in your arms in that inner space and hold them very, very close to your heart in your arms and tell them they have never, ever been alone. There's never been a moment that they have been alone, that you have always, always been with them. And now they can open to that knowing and realization. And then watch them integrate into your heart through your chest and into your heart as pure love. And that's as simple as that to heal that part. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be years of therapy. It doesn't have to be any part of the old world learning now. We can simply do this for ourselves. When I was young and on the odd time as a youngster, I would have very upset times. I was an incredibly sensitive child, and strong human emotions and energies around me could take me inward. I'd have to separate. I'd have to go by myself, sometimes for hours and hours, just to get away. So my parents, all being very different world to where I was, they didn't understand me at all. Even my mother, who was so loving, she supported me in my knowing of life, but she didn't get it at all. But she did know love. Even they didn't understand when I stepped back. Often I would step back and I'd go into a room and I'd shut the door and I'd be in there for hours. So my father and my brothers all called that my sulking period, and I was known as that for years and years and years. But actually, I just needed to be by myself, to be in the quiet, and to be away from the very boisterous, heavy 3D energies of my father and my brothers especially. And so while I was in that space often, and I'd shut my eyes, I'd find myself curled up in a corner of a room. And I was always in that, I'd find myself always in that corner. I'd just curl up right into this tiny little bundle in this room. I didn't know where this room was, but I was always in this room in a corner, and it was totally foreign to this reality. And always in came this most incredible angelic being, huge. Like, to me, being a little child, this being looked about 12, 15 feet tall, shining the most beautiful golden white color. In my childhood imaginings, beautiful big wings, and the most incredible loving presence. And that this being would walk across the room, scoop me up. I would feel this tangibly, scoop me up and hold me in their arms and show me that I was so loved. I was so seen. So I had this, and then I would just come out of my sensitivity. I'd be ready to face the world again. It happened all through my childhood. So then came the day about, I don't know, gosh, maybe 20 years ago, where I was in meditation one night, and all of a sudden in this meditation, because I'm a visionary, so in my inner vision, I stepped into this room and I thought, oh, this looks familiar. And then I saw this beautiful little bundle across the room, and I walked across and I scooped her up. And as I held her, I had the realization right in that moment that that being had always been me, as the grown up, as the adult, as the higher soul, as the higher self, as source. And I had been always looking after that little child. And so this is why I share this right now today, is because we all have that part. We all have that beautiful growing part, higher part, and we all have the little child. So, and we're all able to do that, whether we had those experiences as a child or not. We can go there right now and pick that little child up and show it how loved it is, her or him, and then it'll just sink into the heart. So yeah, I hope that answers your question in part.
Yeah. And really, you know, the inner child, like, I'd love to hear your take, but from my awareness, that these formative years are a big part of how we take on beliefs and attitudes and perceptions into adulthood, and can be running societies, really, you know, from the inner child that hasn't felt loved or has felt abandoned, and has come up with survival strategies then to make its way in the world and create, and that can be from the defended heart and that sense of separation identity, to get so kind of ingrained in that and entangled in that. And now to bring it into these now times on the planet, where so much in the external world is not necessarily reflecting back a sense of security and safety and love and all of these things. What advice, what guidance do you have for people as a focus, especially in the midst of that which really jars up against people's methodologies, we'll say, of survival. And so, as lovely as everything that you've shared, which is so beautiful, in the midst of those moments where people are bumping up against deep anxieties for fear of survival, really. So this is the real knock on wood, earthly nature, because what they've had their faith in, we'll say, so to speak, and their beliefs in, all of a sudden is turning the belly up, and it's not all that it seemed. So it is stirring the psyche of humanity, of course. What advice, what guidance do you have for these people, for the people when what they're seeing externally is very disturbing?
Absolutely. So first of all, I would say that it's not like the world's changed. It has been a very inverted world for quite a few generations, actually for many lifetimes, but it's heated up in the last few generations. So what's happening now is, of course, because we're rising in vibration and our clarity is coming on, it's becoming transparent to us. So we're actually seeing what has always been, even though it's heated up. And I would say also here that it's perfectly designed to bring us inward to where the real truth is. So, when fear comes knocking at the door, bashes that door down in your home, pushes you into a corner, what can you do? You either crumble or you go inward to where you can find a strength that's been calling you for a very long time. So you face it or you crumble, and there is the choice. So that child that had the parents that were causing a deeply sad childhood were already in the program. And they had been programmed by their parents, and this is how it goes. So what happens is we grow up with survival mechanisms in place. We find where we need to have aspects birthed in us during childhood that will keep us alive, keep us surviving, keep us on the edge of life. And so these aspects end up being who we are until we start to realize that actually we're not those aspects. Those aspects are part of the program. The program is brought into us from every area of society, from every media outlet out there, from all the governments, from all the corporations, all the big corporations, you name it. And every major part of this illusion here, which seems very real, is in that program, as part of that program. And our mind, our thinking mind, is the software in us. So, and here's the next piece. The thinking mind is not a natural part of the being that we are. We do not have a thinking mind in our true nature, in our true form. We are feeling beings. We have no need for a thinking mind. We have a quantum mind, which is completely different. That's where our inner vision, our psychic powers, our connection to the universal mind and so much more is. But the thought processes that go on in us, that we've been encouraged all our life into the belief that this is the most important part of us, that we must feed our mind all the time. This is the software, what I call the software for the programming. So we hear words, we read words, we hear stories, we watch images, and it all comes into our minds and sets up the beliefs, the ideas, the perceptions, the expectations, all those parts. We then, as the creative beings that we are, we set the gears in motion, we set the energy flows with all these parts that we hold within us that become us, that govern how we move through life. So we're actually in the now moment. We are sorting out and working out our lives from all these held pieces of us, these aspects that are actually fed from external authority. So you see, the awakening is actually only the very first part, is waking up to what the heck's going on in this world. This world's being tipped upside down and inside out. It's nothing like we believed it was. And what is this about? But really, the real awakening is let that go and come on in. How am I feeling about this world? How am I feeling in this moment when I see something that doesn't resonate with me? How am I feeling as I look outward? And how am I feeling as I come inward? So there is a remarkable difference in how we feel to when we look outward and how we feel to when we look inward. Completely different realities, completely separate worlds. And so right now, as we come back online into our true nature, the world appears to be getting harsher, harder, more in our face. In fact, at times, absolutely unbelievable that we're even in a world like this. And as I said earlier on, it's been designed perfectly to awaken us, to bring us out of ourselves. And there will be many who do not awaken, and that is their choice. So we're all here by choice, and we live by our choices. Our most powerful moments are in that choice point. So I always say to people, stop. Just stop in a moment of choice and feel that moment. Don't go into your logical, practical mind and think your way through it or out of it, because the mind will always say what it wants to keep you entwined in the program. You stop for a moment, you take a breath, and you feel for a moment. So you come down in your awareness into your body, and you just allow your body to feel yourself present in that moment. And you make your choice from that feeling place. Because even if it's the harder of the two choices, it's ultimately for your highest good. So, and this is part of the awakening. This is what this entire lifetime is all about. And this is why we are here, the likes of you and me. We came here to be a part of this. Everything in our previous years, up to about 2012 or so, was what I call our apprenticeship, or our connecting in with the world here, the reality here, becoming in with it, part of it, having an experience of ourselves, getting to feel the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty. And then from 2012 on, we've been building, growing, opening, returning, becoming present. And now, right in this now moment of you and me talking, the wait is absolutely, completely over, way behind us now. We are so far in it that we're actually 2/3 of the way through the actual coming back online into a whole new world. So, and that new world's birthing through us. It's not birthing around us, it's actually birthing through us. We anchor the light here, which is part of the new earth grid of light. Each one of us anchor points, our pinpricks of light that we are feeding that grid, and that grid is completely surrounding the earth and so alive. It is so full of life and the purity of love now that there's absolutely no way. It doesn't even matter what it looks like at times in the near future, and how dark it may look, how hopeless it may look. We have already birthed in our new world. We are already in the process of it rising up from the ashes of the old. We're kind of just spring cleaning at the moment. We're spring cleaning out the old, opened all the windows and doors up and allowing the new to come in.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
As the old detoxes.
yeah, yes, exactly. Perfect way to say it. Yes, yes.
And it's been an allowance for that detox.
Yes, absolutely. We have to. We have to be on board. We have to be committed to the inner journey. It is not the external journey of coming together in groups and talking about this fear, that fear, feeding the fear. But, you know, it's nothing to do with that. All that does is feed the very energy we don't want to feed. So it's about coming inward, and it's becoming more and more and more important now to come into the silence. So we're finding as we deepen in ourselves, as we expand out in ourselves, that words aren't needed near as much as they used to be, that it's more about presence, being totally present with ourselves, totally present in the moment, totally present with each other, listening rather than speaking into or through somebody else, just being in presence. And what happens is, it's like our body, which is actually a radar, an antenna, a receiver. The body is coming online now. It opens into the field in presence. We get a 360-degree view via vibrational resonance, but via feeling of what's going on in that moment. It's like we become the field that we're in. So we're no longer in space between, say, myself here at my desk and my chair in the middle of the room. It's all within the field of oneness, and we are in that field. We are part of that field. So we can feel that vibrational resonance flowing right through us. And this is love guiding us. This is love in us. This is ourselves as that purity stream that we're feeling, that's coming alive again within our hearts. Some people say it's the Divine Mother returning, and that's so beautiful to say it like that, because the Divine Mother is the nurturer, and you know, to feel nurtured is to feel loved. So, but it's actually the purity of love itself that is rising from deep within us again, comes through our body, what I call our body heart awareness. All of this without the thinking mind. The thinking mind has no place in this whatsoever. But coming into this beautiful, expansive space of presence in the silence. And the silence is potent, absolutely potent, with data, with communication, with other aspects of ourself, with our higher self, with our soul self, with source energy. And as we come back into oneness, we find that there is no linear time in truth, because that's a mind-generated belief that we hold. And as linear time breaks down, we realize that there were no past lives. There are no ancestors. We are our ancestors. And we are all still alive and well, all within those life experiences right now, because there is only this now moment. And as we come into oneness, we connect back into all those aspects of ourselves. So, you know, this is the fullness of oneness within our heart that we're coming online with right now. It's the oneness of ourself as everything that we believed we were separate from. Our parents who may have passed, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our ancestors, our beautiful galactic lifetimes, angelic lifetimes, Devic lifetimes in the Devic kingdom, like every aspect of us that's out there living life. And our souls have many, many, many aspects, because our soul loves to experience. So there's as many lights out there throughout the all that is experiencing, and we're coming back online with them all. So, you know, we sit there one day and we're watching a tree, just looking out our window, watching a tree, and we are coming to a place in ourselves now where we can either merge into the tree and become the tree, or we can call on the devic aspect of ourselves and go and experience that reality for a while, that vibrational resonance, you know. So anyway, I have digressed a wee bit, but yeah, I
Giving
go
you
into
lots of space just to share whatever comes through. What I would like to ask you, from your perspective, what is the ego?
the ego or the eagle? The ego.
Ego, EGO. Yeah, EGO. So what you're describing there is a very quantum awareness, simultaneous awareness of consciousness. And I just want to give people an understanding to bridge this awareness of from the ego, what that is creating this separation identity, and what's transforming, changing, happening with that ego to open up to what you're sharing, which when identified with the ego can be very can be a far-fetch. It is experiential.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, the ego is experiential for most people at the moment, whereas what I'm talking about is at the moment conceptual. But the journey from the experiential ego to the conceptual beautiful soul self or loving being is a very, very short journey. It's a very short journey, and it starts in the awareness that we are not our ego, even though we believed we have been for lifetimes. In fact, the ego has helped us survive. It's the ego that has birthed all the different aspects of our personality, and the ego is part of the mind software, part of the programming. And in a lot of cases, the ego has actually kept us alive, you know, so it's had to, in a very harsh, heavy world that was never designed with our ultimate good as its goal. So the ego's been necessary, but the ego is 3D based, is old world based, has absolutely nothing to do with our true nature. Nothing. There's not even an overlap. There's a complete separation. So this journey now, walking away from or realizing what the mind, the thinking mind actually is, I call it the small mind, and the ego self, and the ego personality is all we believe we are in the old world. And all that we are not is nothing. All that we really are is nothing to do with the ego personality. We will never find it ever through the ego personality, because the ego keeps us going outwards. So it sends us out seeking into the world to find teachers, leaders, gurus, books, programs, retreats, workshops, whatever it is. And I'm not saying that some of those beautiful retreats, workshops and that aren't authentic, because yes, there's some beautiful, beautiful ones out there showing their light. But the ego always sends us out away from our deep truth, away from our inner knowing. And it has been born in us to keep us separate. So it's the ego that is quick to judge, quick to criticize, and always compares us to others, and always finds us lacking, or if not lacking, we then come from a place of unhealthy pride, or you know, a place where it's not our truth, but where we believe it is, because it's feeding a sense of ourself that's not healthy. So right now, this is a time for claiming our authority, rising into our knowing, realizing that everything that's gone past, everything that's in behind us, it's time to let that go now and to come inward into ourselves and start trusting in what we're getting for ourselves. And even at times, if we trust and we find that we weren't right, that's okay, because we're still learning to regain our trust in ourselves. So there was another part of your question, and I can't quite remember what it was now.
Well, what's kind of coming up when you're speaking is that as the ego represents that separation identity and all that goes into it, the comparing, the competitiveness, all the judgment, of course, which is the biggest one, really. That as we come in and we come into more self-awareness and be able to expand beyond the narrow bandwidth of the ego, that we open up into greater levels and levels of awareness, understanding, insight, revelation. And in that insight, revelation, that true essence of who we are begins to tap, it begins that merge, if you like. This is how I experience anyways. It's this beautiful, exquisite merge of what I'm not and what I am coming together to come back into that oneness, that wholeness, and the beauty of the absence and the wholeness can be known. And to me, that's what I call the and universe, that it's the and what was identified previously, I say the 3D world, the program mind. And I definitely had it, my experience myself. I've been very identified with my ego story. And then having an experience in 2010 where it was like, whoa, oh, I'm the universe in person. And being having a very profound, kind of sudden, it was conceptual before that moment in 2010. And then it went beyond conceptual and was like, oh, this is the greater reality. Oh, I used to believe, I thought I was the ego identity. Oh, this is how I am. And yet that was so challenging. It took a while to integrate and unpack all the beliefs and all those energies to keep allowing more and more of that expansion, more of that integration, more of that embodiment. And it continues. So it's like the sense of I guess the both coming together for this incredible experience, revelation, opportunity, because who am I? Discovering through who I'm not, and then rediscovering, that contrast, the contrast of life that opens up the possibilities and the opportunities. Yeah. So, and I'm just curious, like, do you see that the ego is just an energy, and so it just dissipates, like it just kind of dissipates?
It does, exactly, totally. So where the old self and the new self meet in any moment, the old self is integrated into the new self and dissolves back into light or back into love. And so, and this is what's happening all the way through. We see that old part by how we're showing up in the moment differently in change. So we use it as a measure, and we see the old part of how it used to be or how we would have turned up, and that in that awareness it integrates into us, and what was holding us back rises us up because it goes from a shadow aspect into the light of us. So we're, and that's just us coming back online, coming into alignment on all our bodies, and mind, body, heart, soul. So, and I always start mind, body, heart, soul, because the soul is the depth of us. It is every part of the iceberg that's beneath the water. And it's only that tip of the iceberg above that is who we believe that we've been all this time. And yet we've got all this to discover about ourselves. It's so incredibly, beautifully deliciously rich to find out that we're so much more than what we've ever believed we were, you know. Woohoo. Isn't that exciting?
Very exciting. And would you say that is what the awakening is, the remembrance?
100%. 100%. Coming back online with our deepest truth, you know, and we are beings of pure truth, pure truth. Yeah.
And is there a pure truth, or is it an ever, you know, depending on where we are in the point of consciousness, what that truth is?
Yes, well, you could definitely look on it like that, because the universe is always evolving, always expanding, or the source energy is. So yes, truths are deepened and expanded all the time too. But what we have always believed was truth up to now has been anything but. So now the truth I talk about is we're coming back into the truth of who we are as the beings we are. And oh my goodness, we are so incredible that with our human minds in this moment, we couldn't even describe it to each other, because it's completely beyond any perceived idea of our human mind. So, but you know, there's now and then we get glimpses of feeling, and it's like I get this little woohoo. And the word that comes to me always is delicious. Oh, delicious.
Exquisite, delicious, yummy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Tingly.
you know, human words can't describe the depth of feelings in moments now. You know, we're just way past that in moments. So yeah, you know, we just look at each other and we know we get it. So I know that you get that, you've felt that. And yeah.
And with that, for anybody listening, anybody watching this, just it is the resonance beyond any words that are spoken here today. It's really being with the energy, taking what resonates, and anything that you may not be able to process as an understanding right now may be revealed in the days, the weeks, and months ahead. And just to give yourself that grace and opportunity, just to be curious, really, to be curious. And to trust that whatever guided you here is your more expansive self actually guiding you here, to pick up the pieces along the way to help with our understanding, so that we can allow more acceptance here now in our human form, through our body consciousness, and then through these conversations, through, again, it's all these permission slips and acceptance pieces that we're not truly alone, even though each one of us has to go in that inner journey, into the alone journey, to know that we're absolutely unified and connected, and at the same time to be able to open our eyes and to utilize our senses, and to realize that there is so many other beautiful souls that are also on that journey, uniquely and together.
More and more, so many are waking up now. Like, they're waking up in their hundreds of thousands now around the world. It's so incredibly wonderful, you know.
Would you say it's
And
even more than that? Would you say it's even more than that, like millions?
Well, yes. Well, hundreds of thousands into millions, yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to put a on it, but when I see it in my inner vision, it's like the entire earth is surrounded now with light, you know, as I said before. So, and now it's for people to come inward. So to really strengthen that, to come inward. And I'd like to say, because I know we're coming to the end of our time, so I would just like to say that if you're here and you're listening to Mary Jo and myself speak today, and there's a part of you that doesn't believe that you're doing it, that you're on the journey, that you're awakening, just know that that is simply your mind telling you that, and that you are not your mind. So it's about understanding that the mind has been designed to keep you separate from your truth, and your truth is felt deep within you. So all it is it's a it's a journey inward, and it's about relearning how you process. And you don't process by thinking. You don't process by being logical or practical. You don't believe just concepts. And even though you could say a lot of what I've said today is a concept, I would invite you to open your body, heart awareness as you listen to this. Be in your body, be present. Don't be doing something else while you're listening to this. Put your pen down, just put all the distraction aside and be really present with this video, and listen through your body, heart awareness to it, because that's where you'll feel the resonance of what we're saying. That's where your higher self is speaking to you, communicating to you from. So it's only your mind that gets in the way.
And just to clarify, because I think that, you know, it's like the mental mind, because there's a lot of talk about the ultimate God mind, the consciousness.
Oh, that's what I call the quantum mind. That is absolutely a big part of the being that we are. Yes, I'm talking about the small mind, the mental mind, the thinking mind. Yeah.
The mind of what we can call the ego, the intellect, and creates that narrow bandwidth of consciousness of separation. So as we expand, we're opening up our bandwidth to open up to more and more of our consciousness and more of ourself, and these multi-faceted qualities. And as you said, that connection with the elementals and the trees and the animals, and it goes beyond concepts. It's a visceral, it's an innate, it's a knowingness, it's a presence, it's a joy, it's a love.
Yeah, see, you just get into the swing of it, and it's like, oh. Yes.
And as you said as well, it really does go beyond words. The more you actually get into that presence, words are beautiful, but they're just like paints that's trying to brush a picture to represent something, to give a bridge or a connection. So I think we're at that place beyond words.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Janine, for your time, for your presence, for your energy, for your wisdom, and for sharing this this podcast and the space with me, and for all those who will tune in and feel the resonance. I'm so grateful. So thank you for being my first official Divine Love Ambassador guest. It's been such a joy, and thank you for being you, for being here, and for sharing all that you share in the ways that you do.
Thank you, Mary Jo. It's been lovely. It's been a lovely hour sharing and feeling into the space with you. And love and blessings to your beautiful heart and every beautiful heart that watches this.